I made this from this. The Unreal vehicle template is pretty rough to use, but I got asked on how to make a BMX game in Unreal, and I had some ideas. Previously, I've disavowed Unreal physics and the vehicle template because of how frustrating it is to use. It's not really designed for arcadey physics, but it also can't handle the cores it came with, so I'm not sure what it's intended for. This project is a VR BMX game. The goal is to go fast with great handling and perform tricks. I heavily modified the Unreal vehicle template to do this. It's using 4 wheels, a modified skeleton, and a separate physics simulation to do tricks in the air. We attach the player to the bike, do some checks where the player's hands are to calculate where the handlebar should be, and it behaves mostly the same when it comes to driving on the ground. The physics asset is centered and floating in the XY plane, but hovering a little bit in the air, and it uses a center of mass offset to bring it back down as if it was closer to the ground. This gives your bike a chance to go over some curves with clearance. You can see that it handles well on ramps and flat surfaces. It's still a little bouncy on bumpy surfaces because the bike has no suspension. This could potentially be fixed by stabilizing the player so that they bounce opposite of the movement. Or the more extreme route, rewriting the vehicle template. I gotta see how the former feels. The part of the project I'm most proud of though is a virtual control system. Initially we thought it would be as simple as keeping your hands in VR where the handlebar is. That's way more challenging for a player to do than you would imagine because there's no feedback and the player kept getting out of sync. My solution was to create a virtual handlebar over where the player's hands are. This more accurately got the player's intent, but allowed for variable degrees of control. Faster rotations if you put your hands together, more accurate if you keep them apart. We can use this kind of control to check for the yaw and roll. For pitch though, we use a mix of character movement and have a similar trick to determine the distance from the default holding position. This lets you pull back on your bike, but also lets you stabilize it so you can move your head in the air. I made a non-VR controller as well that works very similarly. I can move the player's hands and head with keyboard and mouse. I'm working on extending the system, but feels pretty good so far. My bike asset uses a separate physics simulation in the air. This is a big challenge for the project to see if it was even viable. Flips and spins are crucial parts of doing tricks, as well as just general air control. Some people can already guess at what the problem will lead to. To do rotations in Unreal, you have 2 options, add an offset or add a torque. But to use physics, to keep the physics working in a way that feels accurate, you have to add torque. Torque just effectively acts as rotational acceleration, but the physics engine keeps track of that for you and also applies forces when it hits stuff. Unreal Engine uses Euler angles, roll, pitch, and yaw, which lead to a phenomenon called Gimbal Lock, where there are multiple Euler angles that represent the same rotation. What this means is angles start flipping between multiple positions while doing tricks and you spin out of control pretty quickly. There's a 4D math called Quaternion though, which solved this problem in a way which doesn't produce Gimbal Lock. I used an asset from the marketplace, built a separate physics component which converts the values to quaternions, and then processes it as rotations. This leads to smooth air control and the ability to do flips. I'll link a video in the description which describes quaternions and gimbal locks if you're curious about that. So what's next for the project? Well, if you have suggestions, I'd love to hear them in the comments. Getting this prototype to this point was exciting enough to make me continue. I've started implementing tricks, like adding a bar spin mechanic. I want to add a scoring system with a few other tricks as well. I need further control of the physics to implement ground tricks, which basically means I have to rewrite the vehicle template. I've started the process at the moment, but so far it only works on flat ground. A couple other things would be a park with modular assets, player and bike customization, lots of ways to go, but now that I know it's possible to make a decent bike sim in Unreal, all that's left to do is code. If you stuck around this long, subscribe and like if you enjoyed it, and if you did know, I'm a goddamn superhero.